the villa has undergone massive renovations and been owned by royalty and billionaires.
A Russian billionaire once put down a $50 million deposit on this one house. Then he walked away and lost every single penny of it, without ever spending a night inside. This is the palace even billionaires can't afford. Buckle up. So here's the deal, folks. There's a house on the French Riviera so expensive, so impossibly exclusive, that the richest people on earth have tried to buy it and failed. You've probably heard the story that Roman Abramovich was the buyer. That's wrong. The media got it mixed up for years. The real man who tried and lost a fortune doing it was another Russian oligarch named Mikhail Prokhorov, the metals tycoon who later owned the Brooklyn Nets. And today we're touring the $800 million estate that broke him. It's called Villa La Leopolda, and it sits on the hillside above Villefranche-sur-Mer on the most expensive stretch of coastline in the world. Now let's tackle that price tag first, because $800 million for a house sounds insane. Here's how it's real. Back in 2008, Prokhorov agreed to pay 390 million euros for the property, plus another 19.5 million euros just for the antique furniture inside. That's over 400 million euros. And in the summer of 2008, the euro was at a historic high against the dollar, which pushes that number towards $700 million. Adjust for inflation, and you're looking at the buying power of nearly $1 billion today. Throw in the priceless art that lived inside, including a single sculpture that later sold for over $100 million. And yeah, 800 million is actually a conservative number. To put the scale in perspective, just the deposit on this place, the part you forfeit if you back out, was enough cash to buy 5 brand new private jets outright. That's the down payment, 5 private jets. So what does $800 million actually buy you? Let's take the tour. First, the land. The estate covers around 20 acres of prime Riviera hillside. That's roughly 15 American football fields of private walled-off paradise, with the kind of panoramic Mediterranean views that people consider the best in the entire south of France. And at its peak, under its very first owner, this estate sprawled across 50 acres, bigger than London's Green Park. The main house is a 29,000 square foot mansion, bigger than a giant retail superstore. Inside, you've got somewhere between 11 and 19 master bedrooms, 14 bathrooms, vaulted ceilings, crystal chandeliers, intricate mosaics, and acres of imported marble. That's more bedrooms than most boutique hotels. And these aren't just big rooms, they're museum grade. The Safras brought in the legendary Italian designer Renzo Mongiardino, a man known for theatrical, jaw-dropping interiors, to overhaul the grand salons, and a high society-style guru to handle the upstairs suites. Every room was packed with authentic antiques, and remember, Prokhorov agreed to pay an extra $20 million just for the furniture. The furniture. But here's the part that tells you why mere millionaires need not apply: the gardens. This place is basically a private botanical kingdom, with over 1,200 mature olive, lemon, orange, and cypress trees cascading down the terraces. And to keep it all alive, the estate employs 50 full-time gardeners. 50, just for the plants. When you add up their wages, the heavy French employment taxes, and the supplies, the gardening bill alone tops $3 million a year. A year, just for the yard. That single number prices out almost everyone on the planet. Think about it. You could be worth $50, $100 million, and you still couldn't comfortably afford to just maintain the garden. This isn't a house for the rich. It's a house for the apex of the apex. Most billionaires don't want a house that costs millions a year just to keep the grass green. And the amenities go way beyond plants. There are multiple swimming pools, a private bowling alley, a full-size movie theater built right into the historic architecture, and commercial greenhouses to grow the thousands of tulips the owners like to fly in for parties. There's even a private helipad, so guests can skip the winding coastal roads and chopper straight in from Nice or Monaco. And under one famous owner, the place was patrolled like a fortress by former Israeli Special Forces commandos carrying submachine guns. So how does it stack up against the other most expensive homes on Earth? Well, take Mukesh Ambani's Antilia Tower in Mumbai, worth maybe $1 billion or $2, but that's a vertical skyscraper, not 20 acres of private coastline. There's a sister property right down the road, Villa La Cèdre, also originally built for King Leopold, that sold for around $200 million. Prokhorov offered nearly double that for Leopolda. The Saudi crown prince bought a French chateau for $300 million, but that one's a modern replica built in 2011. Leopolda has a century of real history. Honestly, the only homes definitively worth more are sovereign palaces like Buckingham, and those aren't for sale to anyone. That's how rare this place is. Now, to understand why this house is worth a fortune, you have to understand its insane history, because it has been owned by kings, tycoons, and shadowy bankers, and almost every single one of them met with disaster. It starts in 1902 with King Leopold II of Belgium. He bought the original land for a single symbolic franc, then poured an enormous fortune, much of it extracted brutally from his colony in the Congo, into building the estate as a private hideaway for his mistress. When Leopold died, his family swooped in and seized the property, evicting his companion from what one writer called her golden prison. And during World War I, with the estate sitting empty, the state requisitioned it and turned it into a sprawling military hospital for wounded soldiers coming off the Western Front. Imagine that, a future billionaire's palace, once full of hospital beds. Then, in 1929, an American architect named Ogden Codman bought it and transformed it into the Neo-Palladian masterpiece you see today. He bought up a dozen scattered buildings on the hillside and fused them into one flowing palace. There's just one problem. He spent so wildly on the renovation that he bankrupted himself and could never actually afford to live in his own creation. He had to rent it out just to stay afloat. And here's a great story. When the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, the British royals who gave up the throne, tried to lease the villa and demanded changes to it, Codman flatly refused. He reportedly told the former King of England, "The House of Codman is unable to do business with the House of Windsor." After Codman, the house passed to the absolute royalty of European industry, Gianni Agnelli, the legendary billionaire boss of Fiat and Ferrari, who used it as a glamorous jet-set retreat for the most beautiful people in the world. And then, in 1987, it found its most famous owners, the banking titan Edmond Safra and his wife Lily. They fortified the grounds, filled it with world-class art, and cemented its status as the crown jewel of the Riviera. This house was so cinematic that Hollywood came calling. Its grand terraces starred in Alfred Hitchcock's 1955 classic To Catch a Thief, with Cary Grant and Grace Kelly. The estate didn't just host the elite, it became a movie star in its own right. The Safras also threw parties here on a scale that's hard to even picture. One famous bash ran from Friday all the way to Monday, with thousands of tulips flown in from Holland, a celebrity chef, and a full orchestra flown in from California. Every woman who attended went home with a custom hand-painted gift. Okay, now back to the heartbreak. The collapse of 2008. By that summer, Russian oligarchs were drowning in cash. And Prokhorov, a 6'8" metals magnate who'd made billions in nickel, wanted the ultimate trophy. And here's the wild part. Just months before the crash, he'd brilliantly cashed out his nickel empire for $5 billion in cold hard cash, so he had the money. He approached the property through a Belgian broker, and his offer was the ultimate trophy hunt. His offer was so enormous that Lily Safra, who wasn't even officially selling, agreed. 409 million euros total. To lock it in, French law required a 10% deposit, so Prokhorov confidently wired 39 million euros into escrow, roughly $53 million at the time. Now here's his fatal mistake. French law gave him a 7-day window to back out for free. Feeling sure of himself, he let that window expire, and then the world changed. A few weeks later, Lehman Brothers collapsed. The global financial crisis hit, and suddenly Prokhorov wanted out. He refused to sign the final papers and sued to get his deposit back, arguing the contract was invalid. But Lily Safra refused to budge. She called it a matter of principle. In March 2010, a French court dropped the hammer. They ruled the contract was binding, the cooling-off period had long expired, and the 39 million euro deposit was forfeited. Gone. And then the court added insult to injury, ordering Prokhorov to pay an extra 1.5 million euros in damages on top. He appealed all the way up, and in 2012 he lost again. He had paid what's likely the largest penalty in the history of residential real estate for a house he never owned for a single day. But Lily Safra wasn't done. In the ultimate power move, she announced she would donate every last euro of that forfeited deposit to charity, including funding for medical research. She took an oligarch's lost fortune and gave it all away. And that brings us to the legend of the curse. Think about it. King Leopold died just days after finally marrying his mistress, who was then evicted. Codman bankrupted himself building it. The Agnelli family was struck by repeated tragedy. Edmond Safra died in a mysterious fire at his nearby Monaco penthouse, even though he was guarded by a private army who, strangely, had been sent to the villa that very night. And Prokhorov suffered a humiliating $53 million defeat just trying to buy the place. 5 owners, 5 disasters. Some people say it's just a string of bad luck. Others swear the house itself protects its grip on the coastline. Either way, the pattern is hard to ignore. So where is it now? Lily Safra passed away in 2022, and the estate quietly transferred to her family and foundation. And despite endless rumors and fake listings popping up online, Villa La Leopolda is not for sale. It sits today as a silent, guarded monument to a century of breathtaking excess. So there it is. A palace built on a king's fortune, restored by an architect who went broke doing it, and nearly bought by an oligarch whose money vanished in a single market crash. The headline says $800 million. The truth is, this isn't really a house you buy with money. It's a house that seems to decide who's allowed to have it, and so far, even the billionaires keep losing.